There we go. Take it away.
Here we are, ladies and gents. We're gonna try something a little different this time, and we're not actually gonna wait for anybody to hop in before we start talking. But I think James and I are gonna try and do some more long form stuff. So we're gonna try and do more podcasts, more of a long term discussion, which just lets us kind of free roll and explore our ideas a little bit instead of trying to have to cram it into like a 10-minute video. And I know 10 minutes is a long time, but if you're trying to talk about a complicated subject, I think realistically the best way to go about it is actually just let somebody go for as long as they need to go and hash it out. So we've got a lot to talk about, actually, a lot. I'm not gonna lie to everybody watching. We did like record a podcast a few days ago, but this was before quite a few reasonably big things happened. And actually the peak of our conversation, realistically, in the last one was Donny van der Beek and Dele Alli and Everton and Frank Lampard and Thomas Tuchel. And it's like you can kind of have those conversations whenever. So we want to keep it current. First of all, I know James watched it. I know I watched it. It was a weird game, but obviously we got the kind of climax and the conclusion of the African Cup of Nations. Now, I think it's fair to say, James, I don't know how you feel about this. I think Senegal are the best team and the best team won. I don't know if you share that opinion or not, but I mean, just purely looking at their kind of squad strength and also depth as well. Edouard Mendy, I think, could make a serious case for best goalkeeper in the world right now. He played great again. Koulibaly, Mane, Idrissa Gueye, all the Sarr guys. Like there's like 8 of them. What did you make? What did you make of the game? I think Egypt obviously very strong defensively, and then obviously Mo Salah is the X factor. But what did you make of the African Cup of Nations? Because my takeaway is it's not that big a deal for anybody else apart from the continent of Africa, right? I feel like the Euros gets respected or Copa America gets respected across the world. Whereas the African Cup of Nations, I feel like Europe, South America, North America, Asia, whatever, is a bit like, yeah, okay, fine. Like you've won, great. Like Burkina Faso, weren't they in like the semi-finals? It's kind of like, like what's the big deal? But what I love is the passion across the board when that final whistle goes. Because that's really, really, really cool. That's
Uh,
really cool. That's going to be
um, I-
some of those players' careers, James.
yeah, I feel like people just need to put a lot more respect on the competition. You ask a lot of Africans' best players, what's their greatest accomplishment? Would it be winning the Champions League or like winning an Afcon for your country? And they'll definitely pick an Afcon. The Afcon to me is to me up there with the Euros and like the Copa America when it comes to the biggest international titles. Again, to me, it depends where you represent. The Euros is going to be for Europe, and I understand it's a bit more bigger because there's a lot more top teams there. But
Right.
are you going to tell a South American that Euros is bigger than a Copa America? No. Are you going to tell an African that Euros is bigger than Afcon? No. Everyone should respect their own thing. And like Jack, you did say you didn't feel like it was that big, but Afcon to me is a competition for you. Like you're a big fan of it. The underdogs a
Yeah.
couple like a few years ago, Cameroon won it. After being able to beat Egypt, like Egypt, who are 7-time champions. You look at a couple years back, Burkina Faso winning it, and that to me is like the equivalent of seeing like someone like a Leicester City even winning it, Jack. That's like that's the sort of level. And Afcon always brings out these surprising teams who like come up and have these shock victories, and that's what the competition is about.
But
You asked
you
me.
you bring up Burkina Faso. That's the team I wanted to win it. The moment I knew what the semi-finals were, I was like, right, who's the team least likely to win it? Okay, that's who I'm rooting for. So I do think you're right. There is, and to me, James, there doesn't seem to be like the sustained quality for long periods of time for the teams. Like we see fluctuations in Cote d'Ivoire, right? Ivory Coast, right? We see fluctuations in Nigeria. We see fluctuations in Ghana. The kind of big teams that are always there or thereabouts, they're not actually always there or thereabouts. You might recognize more of the players, and that's fine. But in Europe, you know who's going to be there. You know the teams. Copa America, you know who's going to be there. We've had a lot of conversations lately about competitive balance in football. I'd argue there's no better competition in the world when it comes to competitive balance than the African Cup of Nations, and it needs
Y-
to be applauded for that.
You know, you look at it, the fact that Ghana went out in the group stages, Nigeria, who won all of their group stage games, went out in the second round. You look at Ivory Coast going out early. So many top teams end up going early, and it just shows you like you can have the best players, but that don't give you a divine right to win it. I go back to Ivory Coast from 2006 to 2012 when they had by far the best team, man for man, player for player, but they didn't win it in that time. And Didier Drogba ended up going his whole career without winning an Afcon for Ivory
That's
Coast,
wild.
which is just a shock to
Yeah.
everyone. But let me take it back to like Senegal. I think when I started this whole journey for Afcon, and I was asked, what are my favorites to win it? It was, to be fair, it was Algeria at number one, because they were like on a 34 winning streak, and they were like 3 games away from tying the record for most international wins. I mean, for longest unbeaten run. And Senegal were my second favorites. And do you
Right.
know what it is? The thing that makes me happy is that I see too many great African dynasties. I mean, not dynasties, like golden eras, like Ivory Coast one. Let's just say Nigeria. No. To be fair, Nigeria we did achieve, but like you have Ghana, for instance. So many top African teams who have a golden era, but they failed to do it in Afcon, and it happens on so many occasions. And like for
Right.
me, for Senegal to finally have a golden era and finally achieve it after disappointment of like 2 years ago, and also a disappointment in 2002 when they made it all the way to the final and lost. And like the interesting thing was that the manager who managed them to this triumph was actually the captain that day, or like something like that, which is actually cool. After 2 losses,
Full
like an
circle.
Afcon, he finally gets his redemption. And to me, it's such a great story for Senegal. It's shocking because they, as an African powerhouse, I remember them in the 2002 World Cup being the holders, France, and like I won't say they put like they were able to put their country on the map from the point of view what Senegal ended up being the best team in the world at the time, France. And for them not to have won an AFCON in that whole stretch was, to me, a shock. For them to finally do it and finally put their name right amongst the greats who've won it, I think is an absolutely great story.
No, James, look, I agree with you. I think if we start to get into the nitty-gritty now a little bit, first of all, Sadio Mane's penalty that was saved. I'd love to just get your views on just outrageous confidence and just running up to the ball and belting it. James, he's not aiming. He's not aiming. He's just going, if I don't know where this is going, the keeper won't know where this is going. And if I hit this hard enough, it will go in. That's what that
But
penalty, James, it looked like me when I was like 10, 11, 12 years old, taking a penalty for my primary school. That's what it looked like. Just if I hit this really hard and it goes within that little square box, I think I'll probably get it in. That's what it
do,
looked like.
do you know what it is? I feel like low key. To be fair, I never looked at Sadio Mane as being a great penalty taker, but I
No.
feel like what kind of played into his head was the fact that he takes penalties with Mo Salah all the time, and Mo Salah, before the penalty was taken, went over to the goalkeeper, hand over face, tell him this, and that. And Mane, knowing that I've spent a lot of time with this guy,
Yeah.
he knows my best area right there, and trying to put him off and saying, I'm gonna go the opposite way. And the fact that the goalkeeper ends up going the right way, and it wasn't like it was a bad penalty, it was a well struck penalty,
Oh,
but it
sure.
wasn't in the corner. But the fact that the goalkeeper was able to know where he was going to go, predicted that well, and make that big save, fair play to the goalkeeper.
Didn't he use his forehead though? Like, wasn't it saved with his head? I'm pretty sure. I swear it hit him right on the forehead, didn't
I'm
it?
not sure. I thought like he got a
Got a
big
hand on
hand
it. Yeah, maybe.
to it. To be fair, it was a good penalty save.
And then obviously, like, I know, there were dribs and drabs of things that maybe should have happened. There was some actually really nice football played, and just nobody arrived at the back post to finish off some of the chances for both teams. I thought, but then again, we move back to the age-old conversation. Egypt lost in a penalty shootout. Mo Salah didn't take a penalty. And it goes back to this whole thing. Now, I do not believe that every single penalty taker who wants to take the fifth one is a glory hunter. I don't believe that. I think sometimes it's motivated by that, James. I think if you're Cristiano Ronaldo, again, not trying to call out the guy, not that he gives a damn, but if Cristiano Ronaldo is taking the fifth penalty, yeah, I'm more likely to think, yeah, he wants to be the man in the spotlight. He wants to be the man of the moment, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that that's what was motivated Mo Salah for taking the fifth penalty. I really don't. I think he just felt that, with the most pressure, I'll be the one to do it. It's okay, guys, I got this. But to me, if you're the manager, James, not all penalty shootouts go to 5. Not all of them. You are much better having your best. I'm not saying the best penalty taker should go first, then the second goes second, then third, blah, blah, blah. No. But if you're relying on somebody like that, you need to actually have them take a penalty. Because
You know what?
so I play video games, right? I play video games. If you've got an item in your backpack that you're saving, but then you die, well, the item's not been used. Just use the item. You know what I mean? Use the thing that you're saving, because if you don't use it, you lose it. So use Salah to do that kind of stuff. Don't just let somebody else take the burden.
My problem with all this is that I can tell people didn't watch the whole of the competition. So Egypt in the knockout stage, three of the 4 knockout games, 3 of them went to penalty shootouts. Yeah.
Right.
Egypt tried to actually scam their way to an Afcon by having some boring ass games, waiting for penalties, and then beating African teams in penalties, especially West African teams. They're terrible from the penalty spot. But people must understand, Jack, in the 2 penalty previous before that, I think Mo Salah went 5th both times in what's it called again? They end up winning from that position. So it didn't make a difference there. Egypt were very, very sturdy in both penalty shootouts before this one. And Jack, I'm telling you.
And their keeper was good. Their keeper was good. I think it was the 2 best keepers in the competition. I do believe that.
To be fair, I feel the Egypt goalkeeper was all right. I don't think he's that great. I think Mendy's just head and shoulders better than him.
Way better for sure.
But like, as when it comes to penalties, I do believe he's a better penalty saver than Mendy. But when I look at what I seen overall, Jack, Egypt were so efficient for penalties, and I didn't think it mattered who took the first or like who took the second. It just happened to be at the final stage when Mo Salah didn't take a penalty, it then becomes a big issue. But like previously, when they won their first 2, when Mo Salah taking the 5th penalty, no one said a word about it.
James, like with a lot of stuff, you get criticized when something doesn't pay off. If something pays off, there's no criticism because it worked, right? If there's half a second left on the clock and you don't give the ball to James Harden, LeBron James to take that final shot, and then somebody else takes it and they miss, you're going to go, oh, well, why didn't they take it? Of course they are. Whereas if they make the shot, it doesn't matter. It's the exact same thing. If Salah doesn't take part in it at all, there's going to be criticism, of course, as to, well, why didn't your best player? And James, the best player in the whole tournament, not because he played that well, but going into the tournament, I think you'd say Mo Salah is the most talented player at Afcon. How was he not involved in the most crucial part of the whole tournament?
But Jack, I think the biggest thing there is confidence. I do think people talk about your first 2-3 penalties kind of set the tone for the penalty shootout and having your best players there. Egypt probably look at it from this point of view. From 1 to 5, we have very, very, very good penalty takers, like Jack, to be fair, which they do. If you go watch their previous 2 penalty shootouts in the same competition before that, and like the one previously, efficient in the top corners, goalkeepers ain't saving it, right? I don't think that they hit one down the middle. Everything was very, very efficient into corners. It just happened to me to be this one time where Mo Salah didn't take it. The other players already had confidence that they were going to score. I don't think it made that much of a difference if Mo Salah went 1st or 5th. Because, Jack, think about it. The first penalty was what scored. The second penalty was scored by them. And I think the third penalty was missed.
2-2,
So it wasn't like, if Mo Salah would have took the first, it was guaranteed goal. Yeah. Mo Salah probably would have scored. But the first 2 penalties were scored. It didn't make a difference that like Mo Salah was what's it called again, 1st, 2nd, or 5th in that situation. It just happened that somebody ended up missing, and it had to happen.
My final thing on the game, and then we'll I guess talk about kind of the aftermath and the ramifications of it. Shout out to Kalidou Koulibaly and Abou Diallo. I don't know if I've ever seen a final of anything where the first 2 penalty takers for the team are the 2 starting centre backs. Now, I'm not trying to diss centre-backs and say, oh, they're all terrible at taking penalties. We know that's not the case. If you've seen Sergio Ramos hit a penalty, like we know there are players with extreme confidence, extreme talent who can do that. credit where credit's due, though. In a team, with a Sadio Mane, with some attacking talent, with some like very good, recognizable midfielders, the two centre backs take the first two penalties, and not only that, James, score both pretty convincingly.
I wouldn't say.
I just
I
thought that
wouldn't
was
say.
interesting.
I wouldn't say convincingly because I felt the goalkeeper could have saved, actually both of them were savable, but especially Koulibaly from where
I think they were hit with enough power where it was like, oh no, that's going in regardless.
Goalkeeper dove the right way and got a big hand to it, and it kind of like dribbled off and kind of dribbled into the net. But to me, the maddest thing that gets me is that, okay, we got professional football players here, and their struggle to stand up from a spot kick is just mad.
Yeah.
To some of some of the penalties that I was seeing during Afcon from professional football players, Jack, was utterly embarrassing.
No, I know. Well,
embarrassing, you know, and to me, it deeps the question, like, what are you guys doing in training? Are you guys not working on your technique in these situations? Because Jack, forget about the penalty. You can have a missed penalty, but when your technique is that awful, I'm seeing you having a one-step run up and then you're completely missing the target.
Yeah,
I'm thinking like, what is going on here? Or like you put no disguise on a penalty and it looks clearly obvious where you're going to place your penalty.
Saying that though, I do think there's a little bit of like, it's such fine margins. Like, I agree with James. I agree with you, especially if you're Egypt, right? And you know that penalties are like a very big part of you progressing in this tournament. You'd expect it to be something that's worked on, and that you can just.
But Jack, like if you told Egypt that you were going to be in 3 penalty shootouts throughout 3, it's not 1, 2. Like they were in 3. I've never heard of a team going for 3 penalty shootouts.
Right.
They won 2 of them. Like something was bound to give at a time.
Oh yeah, law of averages. The negative thing is going to come up at some point. I get it. All I'm curious about now, James, and we don't have to dwell on this too much. Obviously, we got a lot more to get to. The Sadio Mane Mo Salah relationship. We saw when it was Mane's penalty, Salah was going, "Hey, look," and again, Salah doesn't owe Sadio Mane anything. They're teammates. They're probably friends, right? I don't obviously know their interpersonal relationship. But Mo Salah doesn't owe Sadio Mane anything. Going to his own goalkeeper and going, hey, I've actually trained with this guy for a number of years, and actually we kind of take penalties with each other. Here's the way he's going. Sadio Mane, it didn't seem like he took offense, but also he's kind of defending himself there a little bit too. And I just think that's good gamesmanship. I think that's good for the sport. I think it shows that they're serious about this competition. If they were laughing, joking, and smiling in a final, like poking fun at each other, it's like, hey, we know each other, success at Liverpool, blah, blah, blah. It would really diminish. It would feel like a friendly. It would really diminish the competition. The fact that Salah's trying to get the competitive advantage for his goalkeeper against his buddy, and then Mane can go up and go, actually, hey, listen, he may have just told you something, but I'm just telling you, maybe that's not what I'm going to do. I think that's really good. Obviously, Mane goes to him and consoles him at the end of the game. I think it would be a bad PR move if he didn't do that. And obviously, Salah wasn't willing to listen. And again, James, I don't know about you. Even at a school level or a club level, when I've played, rugby, football, hockey, whatever, I'm not looking to be consoled by anybody if I lose and I'm upset. Seriously, you name the sport. I don't care if it's my teammate, if it's my coach, if it's the opposition. Get away from me and let me feel sorry for myself for about half an hour, and then maybe I'll raise my head up again and just grab a shower or whatever. So I get Salah not being like, hey, bro, hey, bro, sweet, thanks, that was all great, da-da-da. Like, no, it meant a lot, and I'm glad that it wasn't just all pally the whole way through. But my question to you, is this going to impact the relationship there at all? Or
No. We've seen we've seen this happen on like so many occasions when Portugal went against Spain, Ronaldo, Ramos in like Casillas. There was competitive to that. Another Portuguese one where we all remember the famous Rooney and like Ronaldo thing. Right. Like, Jack, your club mates,
the winker,
the winker. There's something else that they also said about him too. But the thing about it is that your club mates, when it comes to international stuff, Jack, it's completely different. Salah has the weight of the whole of Egypt on his shoulders. Are you telling me that he's going to be happy after losing a penalty shootout in a final? Of course, of course he isn't. It'll take him a few days, whatever, and then he'll get over it. Football moves on. But at that time, Jack, you're competitive. If I'm playing against a guy who I'm really close with and I know things about him, I'm going to share him because I want my team to win at the end of the day. That's, to me, what comes first,
transitioning to Liverpool now, and those two returning to Liverpool, I think that's the best thing that could have happened for Liverpool Football Club. I think that if you were hand picking how the African Cup of Nations goes, I think you want both those guys in the final. I think you want Salah to lose, and I think you want Mane to win. Because I think Mane needs a bit of a confidence boost, get some swagger back, right? And I think Mo Salah plays his best football when people are doubting him and people are against him. So to me, Liverpool have Sadio Mane coming back with a bit of swagger, a little bit of a bigger ego, right? A bit more self-confidence, and Mo Salah who's doubted again. So to me, Liverpool, I mean, can Liverpool make a run now? That two of their better players, I'm not going to say it's their two best. I mean, Salah clearly is, but Mane, I don't know if he's up in that conversation anymore in terms of importance to Liverpool's squad, especially with Luis Diaz there now. With Jota, we know how well he's been playing. Obviously, Van Dijk, Alisson, Robertson, Trent, etc., etc. But there are two very key parts to this Liverpool squad now who are returning to me with a tank full of gas, ready to go and push for this title. And James, also a European title too.
Jack, you talk about importance. Sadio Mane is still very, very, very important for this Liverpool team. When you talk about the most important players, like he's top 5 easily.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Especially
Salah's
especially
clear
what he brings
one.
overall.
Salah's clear
I
one.
feel the most important thing, Van Dijk too, Jack. We all remember what Liverpool were like last year.
Sure.
Van Dijk, but we all remember where exactly was it? What we talking about?
Mane and Salah back at
Okay,
Liverpool.
got it. I don't know. I
Title
seem to
push,
have these
European.
weird laps this time where my mind goes.
It's
But
Monday. We'll let you off.
listen, it's Monday. Like there's a lot of stuff to do. But the one thing for me is that fair play to Liverpool. They went through the whole of Afcon without being unscathed, and especially not playing that many Premier League games, Jack. Yeah, I get it that like they had FA Cup and like a League Cup game, but also they had a winter break in between that too. So I think they played like 2 games without both of them, which was calm. They had a home game. I think they had a away game against Crystal Palace and a home game against, was it Burnley or something like that? So they kind of like went through that whole time without having that many tough games.
Right.
And now they have their 2 best players, the 2 best attackers back for to me the strong end of the title race. For me, Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool have done really well because not only have they strengthened Jack by bringing in Luis Diaz, but now having these two back, like you look at the rest of the season now, and then they look at it from this point of view. They got the League Cup final coming up against Chelsea. They're doing well in the FA Cup, and if they can get their heads going right there, that could be another cup competition.
Right.
And also the Champions League coming up, a game against Inter Milan, where you expect them to go through. Liverpool are fighting on all fronts right now, Jack. It could be a very, very exciting time for Liverpool. And plus, Mo Salah and Sadio Mane might be a little bit tired after playing a lot of games in a short period of time, but to be fair to them, they got to think about this point of view. If they go hard and like they play as many games as they can throughout the rest of like the season, they have a free summer to rest. So you're looking at it from this point of view.
Get ready
Liverpool,
for the World Cup. Look, James, as well. Jurgen Klopp's not stupid. Okay. Luis Diaz, you would imagine, is probably going to hit the ground running. Like, why not? Why not? Diogo Jota, and again, it's the same thing. This is why I think Jurgen Klopp deserves so much more credit than kind of any of the other players that are there, including Sadio Mane and Virgil van Dijk. Seriously, I know that this is probably a point of contention where you and I might disagree, but Jurgen Klopp is the MVP of Liverpool. Cormac McManus, Liverpool will win the League Cup, I reckon. FA Cup, a bit of an ask with City still in it. Yeah, I mean, look, it's not out of the realms of possibility. I don't think I'm going to rule that out. But again, especially with a lot of these bigger teams, I do still think there is I'm worried about Europe. I'm worried about the domestic cup. There's always that chance to lapse. There's never going to be the full focus. Maybe for the FA Cup, sure, it's a bigger deal. But the League Cup, it's always a little bit of a But obviously, we're just at the final now for the League Cup, right?
Yes. So that's coming up. Chelsea, to be fair, they have the Club World Cup coming up in like a week or 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then like I'm pretty sure.
Chelsea, by the way,
trust me, I'm pretty sure in like March or like late February is when the League Cup final happens
Right. So
for
I
them.
mean,
So
the chances are there for sure. And look, I don't doubt all of that. But, and I'm hoping we can transition here a little bit over to Italy. But Inter Milan, they're not going to be the easiest team to beat. Like, don't get me wrong, I fully expect Liverpool to do the job. Please, for folks watching live and also folks watching kind of after the fact here, go check out our Champions League predictions video. Drop the comments as well what you think your predictions are going to be for the knockout round. But Inter are not going to be pushovers at all. And transitioning very quickly to Seria, James. Obviously, we did have the Derby della Milano, over the weekend, where we saw kind of an old friend, an old fan favorite from the Premier League. A lot of people say the most underrated player in Premier League history, which I think is a bit of a reach. But Olivier Giroud borderline single-handedly turn over that from a loss into a victory in the 2-1 game. Did you say that you watched the game, or did you only catch the highlights of that?
I only caught the highlights
Yeah.
of it, but I'm looking at the league table right now and how significant that win was for AC Milan. It only puts them 1 point behind Inter Milan, but Inter Milan do have a game in hand. But with AC Milan, are they out of Europe completely, Jack? Or like are they
Ooh, good
still in the
question. It's gonna be in
Europa
the
League?
Europa League.
Because let's say if they are, let's say, completely out of Europe, Jack, would you not say that they will be favorites coming
Not
in for a run
favourites,
in?
no. Not favourites.
No.
No. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're gonna be a contender. That's for sure. Yeah. No, they're not. They're not in. God, James, what the hell is going on? Dortmund, Barcelona, like Jesus, Napoli. What the hell is going on in the Europa League?
So wait,
Man.
I just deep it then. That means they end up finish bottom of their group, which is a bit
Yeah, I think
crazy.
it did. I think it did.
Wow.
But again, like,
Cormac, do you know
there's
what it is? It's more of a blockbuster. Yes, I get it. Inter Milan, AC Milan. It's more based on the fact of the names. I feel like Liverpool, I will be very comfortable, right, in both legs, if I'm being honest.
yeah.
Also, go check out the Champions League
Yeah,
video.
yeah, and seriously, like I say, I want to hear what other people are saying. Like, if people are willing to, put their money where their mouth is for,
And we will get to Barcelona soon.
if people want to put their money where their mouth is for me and James, like, hey, we're doing 10 and 11 out of 16, and for some of the reactions in the group stages there, I'm just telling you that I don't think you guys would have done too much better. So we want to see the proof before, not after. We need to see it before. But yeah, look. Inter is still going to be dangerous. And Milan, James, you talk about Milan. Yes, okay. So Franck Kessié is still there. Somebody like that. Rafael Leao, I think, is absolutely brilliant. And I think has like serious upside. Defensively, okay, still pretty strong. I don't look at it from a standpoint that there's enough there to then catch up with Inter. Because James, you mention it. If Milan aren't in the Europa League, well, Inter might not be in the Champions League for too much longer if Liverpool have their way, which they might. So the focus, they're only going to be like a couple of weeks behind Milan in terms of games not played. So I don't think it's too much of an advantage. I think the wild cards are obviously Napoli, who can go on a run whenever they want, right? It's that they beat themselves a lot of the time. They never lose because somebody else was better than them. They shoot themselves in the foot. And Juventus, who we can kind of talk about now. 2-0 against Spezia. My boyfriend scoring a goal, kind of a nice finish, right? Dusan Vlahovic, right, with kind of a nice finish there from Dybala's pass, which I will say Dybala's pass was nicer. I'm not just going to like hail Dusan Vlahovic as a Ballon d'Or nominee just because he scored one goal against Spezia, but also James, Dennis Zakaria. I was chatting with Timmy very briefly about this on Twitter. This is like signing of the season territory, and it happened in January. The value for money, the talent of the guy, and also the amount of clubs that were in from him. And I think you realize how good the player is because you see the amount of clubs interested in him. The quality of those clubs increases. It increases and it increases as time goes on. So first of all, you've got like Leipzig and Roma and these kind of clubs. And then it's like, oh, Juventus are interested. And Spurs are interested, or Arsenal, or Real Madrid, or Barcelona, or Bayern Munich, and then finally, yeah, he actually makes the signing for Juventus, while they also managed to get rid of somebody like an Aaron Ramsey, get rid of which they shouldn't have, get rid of a Bentancur, right, who does make his way to Spurs. So, to me, Juventus, two huge signings, who sincerely I do believe could make the difference.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know too much about Dennis, to be fair, but you look at where Juventus is right now. Like Morata is cool. That's what he is. But the fact that like you have Vlahovic right now, who's a recognized goal scorer in Seria, who to me the transition from Fiorentina to Juventus isn't going to be that hard for him compared to him
No,
going to, I don't
well, he's
know,
gonna have more
like
chances. He's gonna have more chances.
exactly. But going to a team like Arsenal, you look at it from that side of it. I feel like Juventus, what they struggled with probably throughout most of the season was finding a recognized goal scorer, losing a player like Cristiano Ronaldo, and now having Vlahovic comes in, everything changes. Now, I'm not
But
saying that they're
he does so much more than Ronaldo. At this point in his career, obviously I'm taking Vlahovic over Cristiano Ronaldo. Like again, he's 37 years old, guys. I don't think it's the most shocking thing in the world to take a
mistake.
21-year-old who's playing the best football of his life against a 37-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo who's playing for a squad which, does not adhere to his needs and desires to be as good as he wants to be. So he gives so much more, the movement, running channels, doing all this kind of stuff. And James, I think the most interesting thing, how he plays with Dybala is going to give Nedved and the Juventus higher ups, that's going to give them kind of the idea of how much are we paying Dybala here? Because if him and Dybala can have like a really, really nice relationship, they'll think about giving him the money that he wants. But right now,
Mhm.
what he wants is way too much than what they're willing to pay him. And maybe Dybala will move on.
Oh yeah, yeah. If I'm being truthful, but the Bala thing is a weird thing for me because I feel like the Bala's just hit a point in his career where like has he not achieved everything like he has to do with Juventus? You
No,
know?
James, because I always think the main goal, which no one has achieved yet in this Juventus squad, the main goal is the Champions League.
Yeah, but Jack, how far off are they from winning the
Oh,
Champions League? Jack, we have to be truthfully honest here.
no, no,
Like
look.
that's why I felt like it's not like he's close to winning Champions League. That ship to me is completely sailed.
Every year they'll be hovering around fifth or sixth favorite, you would imagine, right? Now, fifth and sixth favorites have won the Champions League in the past, but Juventus, it's always that thing of the moment they actually get there, you just don't have any hope in them actually doing it. That's been the problem. And that's the thing. When you say achieve all you can achieve, you're basically making the admission, not you, but one is making the admission that you're giving up. If you think, oh, I've done all I can at Juventus, it's like, well, hang on a minute. I thought this was the Italian powerhouse. Show me your Champions League. That's going to be the bigger question. And with Dybala as well, there's a huge risk that it doesn't work out wherever he goes next. And I just think that he needs to be very, very careful with kind of what he's asking for now. James, I look at Ousmane Dembele, it's the same thing. When he's out of contract here, what he's asking for is a lot. These guys are still relatively young. You can kind of ruin your career by asking for too much money and then it not working out. And then no team wants to take a risk on you at all.
It's
Cormac, McManus, Vlahovic on Haaland trajectory. Hey, Cormac, listen, I agree with you, man. I really do. I think that at this point in time, Haaland's ceiling is higher, and I think that Erling Haaland is the better player and will continue to be the better player. But seriously, I tweeted this the other day. In terms of my own opinion and my confidence in my own opinion, this is the strong. This I am going to absolutely ride or die for Dusan Vlahovic, and he will be right up there with Erling Haaland for the next 10 years. These are the next these are the more athletic Robert Lewandowskis of the future, of the kind of future generations here. And yeah, it's going to be special. James and I talked about this before we started recording. It's a safe move for him. But again, if you're young and you've not really made your money yet and you've not truly established yourself on a world stage for world recognition, me and James know who they are. Cormac, you may know who they are. But across the world, this is not a household name yet. But he's going to get there at Juventus. He will.
but my thing with Vlahovic is that he still has a lot to prove to me for me to believe that he's at that level. I think that he's a good striker. I don't think he's a great striker or anything like that. Haaland is who he is. He can go to any team in the world and you know what you're going to get from him. It's just facts. He goes to Spurs, will he score goals, Jack?
No, but see, no, I agree. But James, I would tell you this. Everything you just said about Haaland, I also believe about Dusan Vlahovic. I believe
To
wherever
me,
he
to me,
goes, it's the
it's
same
remained to be
result.
seen. Here's a guy who hasn't played Champions League football yet. Like we have to wait to see who Vlahovic is. Well, like with Haaland, Jack, we know this guy is going to be bad for many years to come. I have this little thing about Seria strikers, yeah, a little thing about guys who just come up through the Seria ranks. Now Zlatan was already playing in different leagues at that time where that and like was already established. But you look at someone like Cher Immobile, Adina Tale, Belotti, who are great strikers in Serie A, but we're yet to see it on a world stage, on like a European stage, like that at the highest level. That's my only thing with Vlahovic. But does he have the makings of a top quality striker? Yes, and like when you look at what, let's say, the rest of Europe have to offer when it comes to number nines, he's definitely up there because the rest of the number nines in the world right now are quite poor, if I'm being truthfully honest.
Thing is, James, I see what you're saying there, but I would also look at Borussia Dortmund and their ability to breed, talent in entertaining, talented, attacking players, and the amount of times that we've seen players leave Borussia Dortmund and we've seen the drop off. Now, by no means do I think that's going to happen with Erling Haaland. I agree with everything you said. He's going to go wherever he wants to go, first and foremost, as long as they pay him what he wants, and he's going to have success. But I'm
Jack,
just saying, if Dusan Vlahovic can do it at Fiorentina, I'm more impressed with what Dusan Vlahovic is going to do at somewhere like Fiorentina than what somebody like Erling Haaland would do at a Borussia Dortmund.
but Jack, Erling Haaland was playing for, I think, RB like
Salzburg, yep.
Salzburg, something before that. Jack, he was smashing in goals in the Champions League, in the group stage before he made that move. So we knew that this guy was something. We didn't know that he was going to be this. Well, like what we're seeing right now, this like scary striker who is just a goal maniac. Like
Yeah,
he's going to
no,
break all sorts of records.
but no, to kind of put a kind of a cap on this conversation, yeah, I think Dusan Vlahovic has just as much to offer as somebody like Erling Haaland, but I think that we haven't even seen the best of Erling Haaland yet. And this is, I think, where James and I differ. I do think we've seen Kylian Mbappe's best football. I think that's we're kind of in that now, or it's been over the last couple of years. I think this next move for Real Madrid is going to be make or break for Kylian Mbappe. Whether we're going to talk about him as kind of an all-time, top tier player, and as his career moves on, are we going to dare mention him in the same breath as Ronaldo and Messi? Are we going to do that? And this next move will be clear for that. I don't think we're going to see much better than we've already seen from Mbappe. And the one thing we know about players, especially with the speed aspect of their game, that gets slower over time. Erling Haaland's not going to get any smaller. Dusan Vlahovic is not going to get any smaller. These physically imposing guys will score goals from that number 9 position. When Mbappe loses that pace side of the game, I've not seen it yet for me to think, oh, here we are, here's what it's going to be. But obviously, all depends. Cormac, Obs Haaland is incredible, physically a monster, probably has a higher ceiling, but Blahovic's numbers for a first real season are pretty nuts. Yeah, look, Cormac, I think that's fine. But I would also, James and I spoke about this before recording. Do you guys remember Christophe Piatek? Right, this was the boom, boom, boom guy who was at Genoa and scored. I think it was like a goal a game for like 12 games. Right, he went to Milan. Wasn't really up to much. I'm pretty sure he went on loan to like Hertha Berlin and also wasn't up to much. And now he finds himself, James, funnily enough, coming full circle, replacing Vlahovic at Fiorentina, right? I'm just saying, people were high on Luka Jovic. People were high on Christophe Piatek. Just because the first real season numbers are pretty nuts does not mean we can knight this guy. Now, my own opinion on it is that I've knighted him. I think he's amazing. I see like borderline no flaws in his game. That's why I'm so high on Vlahovic. But I'm not looking at just this one season and thinking, oh, that's it. It's done for me. It's the other parts of his game.
Cormac, I'm just gonna mention because you mentioned how like Mbappe was a bit stagnant in his career. So let me just mention a few numbers here. And I know numbers doesn't always speak to everything because Mbappe's performances are also amazing. But just think about it. In the last 4 seasons, so the season 2018-19, in 43 games, he scored 39 goals. The next season, he played 37 games. He scored 30 goals, and also that was due to the fact of like COVID. So he played more games. He was probably on the trajectory to score 40. Last season in 47 games, he scored 42 goals. And like this season in 30 games, he scored 20 goals. So Jack, if Mbappe just keeps on this trajectory, no, just keeps on where he is right now for the rest of his season, we're already looking at it all time great. Because these numbers at the age of 19 years of age, Messi wasn't putting up these numbers, right?
No,
Ronaldo weren't putting up these numbers like these.
You are absolutely right. But to me, I've not seen from those first 18, 19 seasons, I've not then seen it up again. I've not seen the goal per game.
But Jack, I don't want to, Jack. I don't want to see up again, because if it does up again, we might be looking at Messi and Ronaldo stuff, and I don't see.
This is what I'm saying, because James, I'm looking at Erling Haaland, and yes, they're different football players. Don't get it twisted; they are different football players. Erling Haaland averages more than a goal a game, and I know it's not all about numbers. Trust me, I get it. But I look at Mbappe, the domestic league in which he plays in, right? For clearly the best team, clearly with the best players around him, right? Erling Haaland, it's not the same thing. It is not the same thing. He has to do it in my opinion, a more difficult to play league where he's not clearly with the best team, right? So again, it's fascinating to see. And the reason why I draw the Vlahovic-Haaland comparison is because they're similar in kind of play style and position. Mbappe can do so much more than the two of them. He's much more versatile and can play across other areas of the pitch. Now that we're kind of bringing up these three, which I do think, I think first of all, I think Vlahovic, it's generous to put him in the conversation with those other two. But obviously, if you're talking to me, I am going to put him in there because of how high I am on him. But James, we're getting to a point now where these two guys, who to me are going to be the two best players in world football over the next 10 years, in Mbappe and Haaland, are both going to be potentially looking at new teams. Now it's Monday, the 7th of February. Where for you are both these guys going to go? We'll start with Mbappe. Where does Mbappe?
Mbappe is almost certain that he's going to be a Real Madrid player.
Yeah,
I think it's already been thing where it's already been agreed. I want to say Real Madrid for Erling Haaland, because I feel like Real Madrid really, really want him. But I think if it wasn't for Karim Benzema and how great Benzema's been in the past few years, I would have said definitely a Real Madrid player. Now, an area that he could go, I'm going to call it right now, Barcelona or Bayern Munich. I feel like those are the two teams that possibly could, and even you could say Man City too, but it depends how much does Guardiola want him. Yes. This is Erling Haaland. And Mbappe is Real Madrid. Is Real Madrid through and through. That was always going to happen. Erling Haaland is the one where I feel like if Real Madrid really push to get him, then yes, he goes to Real Madrid. But I don't think that they're going to push to get him as much because Benzema is just in the way.
My one thing with Man City is I look at Haaland a little bit in the same way that I look at Zlatan. And you remember, and just because of the way they are, but then also I look at, Pep's relationship with Zlatan and the character. Is Erling Haaland going to be the type like, yes, sir, no, sir, you're the greatest coach of this generation. Yes, sir, no, sir. Like, is he going to be that guy? Because I don't think so. From what I've seen with Erling Haaland, he is more of that extroverted character. He is more of that, like I say, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He is a true individual. He's not just going to follow orders. I think this guy knows what he is. Big ego, similar to Zlatan in that respect. To me, Man City, I know that the reports from the not Luis Diaz, who was the kid, Julian Alvarez from River Plate. The reports from that are, this isn't the starter. This is a guy who's going to come in and we're going to develop and we'll see how things go. We're still looking for that top striker. I still think with City, Harry Kane might still be the target. I don't know what it is. I think that they're going to look at it and think to themselves, okay, here's kind of a cut price deal where we can get Kane. And then Haaland, James, I'll give you a wild card. I think Manchester United, Edinson Cavani is moving on at the end of the season, right? The rumours are lately that in part of the deal to Manchester United to get Mauricio Pochettino, Ronaldo might be included in that deal. Zidane and Ronaldo to PSG, Mauricio Pochettino to Man United, Cavani going out. I keep knocking over my mic. Cavani going out, Ronaldo going out, Mason Greenwood. Okay, I'm just going to leave that there. But in terms of attacking talent, Manchester United are going to have a bit of a hole to fill. And also, James, a lot of wages are not going to be there. We know about the outgoing players. Maybe that spot opens up for Manchester United, who will be able to pay him whatever he wants with Mino Raiola, Pogba going out as well. It just, to me, sets up. A lot of stuff has to happen, but it sets up for Manchester United to get Erling Haaland.
I look at this from this point. Cormac mentioned it well. The Harry Kane thing. Conte might have just changed Kane's mind on staying in Tottenham long term. That might be the only thing for Harry Kane, because I felt like if it was Nuno, I think it was already set that Harry Kane next season would have been a Man City player.
Right.
I think it's a little bit different with Antonio Conte now in charge, and just seeing how Harry Kane's form has turned, and maybe they both spoke to each other and be like, let's
But
see
James,
what.
to keep Kane, if you're Harry Kane, how much money do you need to stay at Spurs?
One sec, I'm just.
Yeah, no, you're good. I can keep talking because here's my thing. The Gary Neville interview, the golf interview. I want to be winning. I want to be doing this. I want to be doing that. Are Spurs in danger of winning a title in the rest of Kane's career? I don't think so. I'm not trying to be harsh here. I know a lot of our subscribers are Spurs fans, and no disrespect. I think if any manager can do it, I think it is Antonio Conte. But in the time that Kane has left at Spurs, do I think Spurs will win a Premier League? No. Do I think they'll make top 4? Sure, maybe. So what's going to keep Kane there? Well, to me, it's the right project, which would be under Conte, tick, but then it would be a big paycheck. We know the next Harry Kane contract, James, is definitely going to be his last. And he'll give up some money if he can go somewhere and win.
Yeah, but Jack, do you not feel like Harry Kane has gotten? I'm not sure how much Kane is getting paid by Tottenham, but I know it's a decent amount. Like, I don't think his pockets are, slowing down anything. I think that
career is not a long career.
It isn't long, but Harry Kane, the last thing Harry Kane would be, in my opinion, would be looking at is the fact of money. Money to me, I don't think is anything to do with Harry Kane at this moment in time. The one thing that Harry Kane has missed, the one thing that Harry Kane needs is trophies.
That's not going to happen at Spurs, though, James. That's the thing. As much of a draw as Conte is, and as much as you can like your working life, that's my thing where I'm just a bit like, I just don't know. I think he'd rather take less money at a project where he thinks he can win. And to me, that screams Manchester City. Or James, we talked about Haaland and Man United. If Pochettino goes to Man United, could we see Harry Kane at Manchester United? I'll get to a couple of these comments real quick. State of the lane. But if you're Haaland, do you want to go and play for Pochettino and United that's not elite at the moment? What I'd say about that, mate, I think you would need Champions League football. I'm not playing for Pochettino or Manchester United if I'm Erling Haaland, if I'm not in the Champions League, especially if you're Erling Haaland and what you want to try and achieve in your career. You want the top of the top. And that means you want the money, you want the competitions, and you want the titles. So to me, I think it very much hinges on Champions League qualification. He's on about 220k. Look, I just don't know if that's enough. If you're Harry Kane, if you're a Golden Boot winner in X, Y, and Z, right? If you're World Cup Golden Boot winner or whatever, and the kind of face of a new team, I just think that it will require more.
To be fair, I don't know, because I just feel like it's got to a point where Harry Kane is just money doesn't even come into consideration. I feel like with Tottenham that he must believe that they're going to take the next step by, for instance, signing a player that is completely out of the realms, and you're thinking, how in the hell did he sign him there?
Sammy, we see you. We see you. We see
Welcome
you.
to the cut, Sammy. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. But just going back to Harry Kane, is that I feel like Tottenham need to show him crazy ambition. The ambition to sign out, I don't know, a Paulo Dybala, something that's completely out of their realm. And then, to me, that changes everything.
Right, James. And James, can I just say, Bentancur, Kulusevski, keeping Son, signing Conte, these are all going in the right direction. But it's just my opinion. Doesn't mean I'm right. I think if Kane spends the rest of his career at Spurs still don't win a Premier League title. I'm sorry. They'll make top 4 once every now and again, sure. And with Conte, like I say, it's the perfect man there. But if Kane's desire to win trophies and titles is above anything else, Spurs is not the place for that. It's probably Man City.
100% Cormac. I think it's just about winning for Harry Kane at this moment in time. We're going to take one more thing about Tottenham, and then we're gonna move on to a different.
Spurs don't make those sort of signings, unfortunately. Look, Cormac, like you say that, I do have, in similar way to my love of Dusan Vlahovic, I think Rodrigo Bentancur is like one of the best holding midfielders in the world. Seriously. And again, people may not join me in that, and he's still got a lot to prove, and he's still definitely not the most consistent, I would say, of midfielders, but maybe that will change under Conte. And Kulusevski is a real Spurs fit. Christian Romero's come in and done a really, really good job. A lot of players who I think have been distractions and problems at the club, are now out of the club or will be out of the club in the future. So I think things are going in the right direction. James and I talked about this with Everton lately, making that jump from tier 2 to that tier 1. And I think if we're being generous, we say that that's Liverpool, City, of course. Chelsea and Man United probably just sneak into that top tier of people who you think could challenge. But in that rung of tier 2 teams, of the Arsenal, of the Spurs, at the moment, West Ham, etc., it's going to require a lot to break into with those other 4 teams at the moment. And, is that worth the investment at this point?
I look at this from this point of view, and I think for Tottenham fans, you have the best man in charge to put pressure on the board, because the one thing about, let's say, somebody like
and his buddy is director of football,
exactly like Nuno would have came in, is that he was a bit of a puppet. Antonio Conte, if he does not get what he wants, if he doesn't get the one, even let's say he might not get a chocolate bar that like he wants, he will complain. He will complain and like let it let it be known. And that's a good thing for you guys, because then Daniel Levy and then the people who are in charge will have nothing to hide about, because you fans will tell him that you now have arguably the best coach in the world, and he wants to make us great again. Right. So you guys better do what you can possibly do to make him happy and make Tottenham be successul. That's because the only thing.
Sorry.
Go on, Jack.
No. Well, just Mauricio Pochettino is very agreeable as a character, right? If he gets told no about not wanting signing play, he'll probably very respectfully go, okay, thanks, cheers, thanks for listening to me. Antonio Conte will put his foot in the ground. He'll argue with whoever he needs to. And James, if the worst case scenario for Antonio Conte is taking like £40 million of compensation for being fired by a football club and then just going and having a holiday back in Italy with his family, big deal. That's what Conte cares about.
And to me, that's the crazy thing about it, is that of all the things, is that if Antonio Conte doesn't get what he wants, Jack, he isn't scared to leave.
No,
he isn't scared to say, I'm not having that. Which is to me highly, highly respectful of the man. People might not like it from the point of view, you look at a grown man throwing his toys out of the pram, but he knows what it takes to win. Let's not act like he doesn't. He knows what it takes to win.
Right. Look, state of the lane. Look, man. Going back to, I've got to agree with James's theory on some of these. Andre Silva, I would put up there like, a Ciro Immobile type of player, right? I think that in the right situation, a Luka Jovic, right? In the right situation, at an untracked Frankfurt, right, at a Benfica, at a Porto, at a, any one of these kind of clubs that's just a little off the cuff, by a Leverkusen, right, whatever, somebody can pop off. When you go to that bigger club, when you go to that bigger stage, when there's more attention on you, being able to step up is a different kettle of fish. Now, I have full faith that Dusan Vlahovic can do it. That's the difference, I think, maybe between me and James. Maybe James just hasn't seen quite enough. Andre Silva, unfortunately, I do throw into that pool with those other players. That's what I'm saying. And Cormac just made the comment, Andre Silva hasn't got it. I think that's the case. I'm really sorry. I do not think that Andre Silva can be that guy for a team of that level. I'm really, really sorry. Young, slightly cheaper, sure. But I just don't think when it comes, you've got that kind of clutch factor. So, James, we've obviously only got like maybe 10, 15 minutes left to go here. We both agree on Mbappe. We think he's Real Madrid bound. We obviously had a conversation about Haaland. But to you, I'm going to drill you down for a final answer. Where's Erling Haaland playing his football at the beginning of next season?
Do you know what it is? I need to know what's going to happen with Robin Lewandowski first.
No, you can't qualify it. You have to pick.
Oh, this is a tough one. Do you know what?
Okay, I'll go.
Go on.
Guys, I'm gonna put myself out on a limb here. I think he's becomes the highest paid player in the league. I think that maybe Cristiano Ronaldo leaves, Edinson Cavani leaves. Obviously, we know what's happening with Mason Greenwood. I'm going to say that the kind of the number 9 going forward for Manchester United next season, with a new manager coming in, whoever that may be, Eric Ten Hag, Mauricio Pochettino, I think Erling Haaland might be a Manchester United player. I think there's going to be a lot of turnover in that forward line, and they're going to try and make it work with somebody like Sancho, who we know has that relationship with Erling Haaland. So I'm going to say Manchester United. I'm going to put myself out on a limb a little bit there, but I think the Mino Raiola relationship with Manchester United continues. James, what about you?
I was going to say Bayern Munich, but I don't think Bayern Munich are going to be willing to break the bank.
No.
Compared to other teams. And I'm going to say Barcelona.
Ooh, okay, interesting. To join the rest of the world strikers and wingers that Barcelona currently have. That's the thing, James. I don't know if you're signing like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Adama Traore, like all.
But that's the thing about it, is that So let's look at this. What's his name again? The winger.
Ousmane
Oh my
Dembele?
day. Dembele, sorry.
Yeah.
Dembele will go. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's already
Oh,
for
yeah,
sure
for
that
sure.
he's gonna go. Aubameyang signed a
And
one and a
Haaland
half
will
year
play right
deal.
wing.
You know,
Not
exactly.
one year.
But Mbappe signed. No, not Mbappe. Aubameyang signed a 1.5 year deal. Yeah, Barcelona to me are looking towards having a big enough wage gap to fit in someone like Erling Haaland. Barcelona to me have been built on one thing as a great team: stars, great names. You look at what made Barcelona great in the first place. I'm going to take it back to great individuals like Luis Figo, yeah,
Right.
Rivaldo, Ronaldinho, Eto at a time, and Messi, who carried who carried the burden for so long with amazing team around him. Don't get it twisted. And obviously when they had Luis Suarez and Neymar, who was meant to carry the burden for Barcelona for the next so many years, but we all know what happened there. They need that marquee player. Dembele was meant to be it, but it never really worked out. Barcelona did their best to get Kylian Mbappe, but he was already Real Madrid bound. I think the president has already made it clear that the player that they're looking at is Erling Haaland, that they are obsessed with bringing in that marquee name. It's going to get the fans up. It's going to get the club up. And I do think Haaland is going to be that guy.
Man, I look at their financial situation and their activity in January. To me, it does not suggest that that's what they're going to do. But James, we'll see. We'll
But
see
Jack,
for sure.
Barcelona came out, they don't have money. Look what they did in January. That's what they're always going to do, Jack. They're going to say, we do have money, but we're going to somehow. It's like, for instance, right now, it's like a woman going, oh, I don't have money to go. I don't have money to pay for my dinner. But like she goes ahead and buys a Birkin bag. Like, that's what, like, to me, that's what Barcelona are about.
Right.
Like right now. But speaking of them, let's actually get into Barcelona.
Just quickly, my final one, because I just
Okay.
want to kind of cap off these strikers that we're talking about. Harry Kane, where's he playing next year?
Oof.
Because
Spurs.
I'm saying Man City. I'm saying it's a cut price deal and it finally happens. Because I think Kane, as much as he's going to enjoy playing with Conte, I just don't see it. I think that he'll want to go to Man City, and then you've got Julian Alvarez kind of as an understudy to Kane, while they both understand the Pep Guardiola way.
I have him staying at Spurs at this moment. Maybe maybe that does change, but I feel like Man City probably have cold feet about the Harry Kane thing after going through the whole
You might be
thing
right.
about trying to sign him. You know, they probably just get worn out by the fact of, well, because how many times do Man City go for a player and like don't get him? Like the
Yeah, no,
Ronaldo one, I get it, but usually when Man City go for you, and I'm talking about like he's
but
that guy.
But I would also say if you're negotiating with Daniel Levy, like most of the time the deal just doesn't happen, and then
Yeah, but
everybody's
Jack,
left upset.
yeah, but Jack, you said that Real Madrid got Modric, Real Madrid got Bale. Who else did they end up
A lot of
signing? I think
money though, James. That's
Jack,
the
they
thing.
end up, yeah,
People
but
have
it's
put a
a
lot
lot
of
of
money.
money. But at the end of the day, Tottenham always sell their best players. We can't say
Yeah.
that. Oh, just Daniel Levy, like they always sell.
Yeah.
To me, it's just the way it's been.
So we'll kind of, I
Bergotov,
guess,
for
cap
instance,
off.
too.
We'll cap off the podcast here as well with James. You want us to talk about Barcelona?
Oh yeah, and then so Barcelona haven't had the greatest of time recently, but the game against Atletico Madrid yesterday must have given the fans and then the club a lot of hope, because we've seen so many amazing signs going like going for them. You know, again, Dani Alves scoring and like playing great is good to an instinct, but you want to see younger players do it. But when you look at the way their midfield, how young it is, I get it with Sergio Busquets in there, but when you have players like Frankie De Jong, Pedri, and Gavi playing at that sort of level, you have players like Adama Traore, who people question his end product, but able to deliver to that standard in a big game. To me is a big plus in their ability to actually play well in a big game scenario. Jack, to
Yeah.
me, is a huge thing for this club, and then the biggest thing is like to get Champions League football this year with the signings that they made.
Has
Is
La
really
Liga
kind of put.
seen a player like Adama Traore? Has the
I don't think
league? I mean,
I don't think football has seen a player
right.
like Adama Traore. He's a rugby player who's playing football.
But James, we've seen, like, I'm not trying to draw comparisons too closely here, but we've seen Michael Antonio play wing. We've seen like Gareth Bale play wing, right? We've seen some of these guys who aren't just little kind of jinky little, strikers who are able to beat a man, just physical powerhouses. Maybe it's my lack of knowledge with La Liga, but any fullback in La Liga who's looking down the barrel of Adama Traore, I'm thinking to myself, like, damn, I don't know what to do. I think of back in the day, like, can you imagine like Juan Fran looking at Adama Traore and just be like, oh man, it's gonna be a long day.
Oh, Jack, like, listen, like, Adama Traore is just one. Again, there's a bunch of Tottenham fans here that must have been upset that he's not in a Tottenham shirt. But if he can just get his emperor, not even fully right, but just half right, Jack, there's a serious problem for the rest of La
He
Liga
just
teams.
needs to play simple football, though, Jack. And I know that's not really the Barcelona way. I know it's not strictly simple football, but if he can just get to the byline or cut inside and then just put crosses in, like Cormac McManus was going to say he's going to have a similar impact to Bale. Obviously, not with the shooting, but more so with the physicality. Yeah, man. I tend to agree with you. Man, I tell you, I played left back, a little bit when I was a kid. Like, I do not want that man running at me. Jeez, I mean, that's either I'm either
Long
getting
day.
rinsed or I'm getting sent off for real because he's getting past me and I'm trying to recover and I'll probably miss the ball. But still,
It's one of them ones where you just gotta call your winger, yo, let's double up, or like another defensive midfielder, you kind of cover me
yeah.
behind just
And
in
then
case,
call another couple of players and be like, "Hey guys, you also cover me as well." James, how do you feel? You picked Atletico Madrid for the knockouts of the Champions League against Manchester United. Seeing that game, does that? I mean, how worried are you about your pick there, or is it not going to phase you too much?
It's not gonna phase me too much because as bad as Atletico Madrid were, you just gotta look at Manchester United and then just ask yourself, like, who's who's really winning in this situation?
Right.
Both teams are not playing the greatest bit of football at this moment in time. Both teams are not at the level as what they used to be, and it is what it is. I feel like they're both scrambling to see who can play the worst football at this moment of time. But when you look at the Champions League know-how, I will back the team who've been to more Champions League finals than like the other team who, let's be honest, have one great player in the competition, but the rest of them who have, let's be honest, Jack, really failed in the competition. The Manchester United team have failed a lot more times than I've seen the Atletico Madrid team fail.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, but again, I think I would still. I think the thing I go back to as well. I go on to also. What's up, Gary? Gary Garner. I know we've not gone live in a while, so we appreciate you checking in. If Man City don't want Kane, then it looks like he'll be stuck at Spurs for the rest of his career. Sadly, look, Gary, I tend to agree with you. I think the only other realistic option would be somewhere like Manchester United again, and I think that we're seeing the competition for the biggest stars go there. Again, a lot's been made recently. Cristiano Ronaldo went to Manchester United, not because Manchester United had the desire to get him, but because they didn't want City to get him, right? That was kind of the key difference. And I wonder maybe with Kane, is it going to be the same thing? But yeah, apart from those two, Real Madrid, I don't think so. Barcelona, I don't think so. Bayern Munich, I don't think so. PSG, maybe if Pochettino's there and Mbappe leaves, sure. But again, Juventus, no. Like you're right. I think that Kane is, he's definitely his options are definitely thinning out here as well. James, anything else from you that you kind of want to touch on here a little bit? Like I think just to let everybody know watching either live with us now or kind of going forward in future, James and I are going to try and do this kind of open flowing form of podcast. Obviously, answer some of the questions from you guys. We always appreciate the interaction, but this will be kind of the new form of podcast. It will be live, but then you can also go back and watch it afterwards because it's there and it's current and it's kind of modern. Because a lot of the time we'll record a podcast, a bunch of stuff will happen. It'll be like, damn, we need to talk about this other stuff as well. So.
Yeah, so basically, we're just gonna try to give you more of a more of a live podcast because like as Jack already said it before, we did a podcast and then so many or other crazy stuff happens and it was like we have to cover this and that. And guys, if you already didn't mention, if you want to just go back a bit, we've already talked about Afcon. We had a bit of talk about the FA Cup and Dusan Vlahovic and what else
Big
did we
talks.
cover?
Obviously, we had the Milan derby. We had Vlahovic and Zakaria scoring on their debut for Juventus there as well. And obviously, Inter losing in that big derby game as well does make the title for Seria a lot closer. Roma obviously not involved. But I think we are getting to that crunch time of the season. And this is where I love box to box football, because where especially when we get into Europe, like things start to get very, very interesting, guys. That's the biggest thing I can say to kind of close off here on this podcast. Go and check out our predictions video. We want to hear your predictions too. You can do it along with us. If you remember which teams you thought were going through the knockouts, try and keep a track of your score from before. But James and I are going kind of head to head here and seeing who can do the best guessing game.
And Jack, this is squeaky bum time, and usually, to be fair, me being an Arsenal fan, we're always in these competitions. But this is one time in a while where we're out of everything, and like I've nothing to really play for a while. I'm seeing Tottenham; they still have a chance to win something. Obviously, Man City are always going to be in there. Liverpool are in there. Chelsea are going to be in there. So there's going to be teams who will be crowned champions. But unfortunately, it's not going to be my team, because my team is trash and we messed up our own season.
You can go into like most of the games though, just as kind of a, you can enjoy it, just enjoy.
Jack, I'm telling you, the worst part. I listen. I hate that, man. I feel like I've been doing that for like 15 years now. Right. I want to win. I want to win a Premier League. I want to win a Champions League, man. That's what I want. And I know you laugh at that because we're so far off it.
I think there's, and we can, let's touch on Arsenal to finish here, especially with Spurs fans in the chat as well. Let's finish on Arsenal here just for a second, because, James, you've had some players exit your football club, and come this summer, there are going to be some players exit your football club. And fortunately, I'd say for you, the one thing that follows players leaving a football club is players coming in a football club. James, we talked about Aubameyang and Lacazette and how's that going to work and how do you play them together and how do you do this, how do you do that? James, come this summer, neither of them are going to be at the football club. Neither of them. Right? I think that, I do honestly believe that there's some upside and there should be, at least from you, there should be some optimism this summer. Maybe going for Matt Ritchie again. Who knows?
Okay, guys. We're going to end the podcast there. Thank you. This is Box to Box Football, and we will see you next time. All right? That's enough. Man said Matt Ritchie. That's enough. I don't even want to talk about Arsenal, but guys, thank you for tuning in right now. Jack, you generally just ruined the rest of my day. I got coaching to do. I'm trying to get my mindset right. Remember what I need to do.
Robo probably going to sell the colours and yellow to Juve, so trust me, I'll be crying as well.
But Jack, and everyone here, appreciate everyone for coming along. We'll try to go live a lot more for these podcasts, at least every week. So please stay tuned. And if you are new, check out our Champions League stuff, and also hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And we will see you.